Welcome to another Cardano update. Like always, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. So here on the 4-hour chart, we are still at the 0.786 support level of this much bigger AB structure, and as I mentioned yesterday, until we get a 5-wave move to the upside, I'm not going to be able to confirm at the low as in, because this could easily turn into some kind of maybe much bigger ABC structure for a much bigger first, meaning that right now we could get to maybe 31.8 cents to get to the 0.786 support level of the supposed second wave move down for this 1-2 setup. So if that's the case, I think the price could drop a bit lower, but obviously my main scenario remains the exact same. I think we could still be in a 1-2 AB structure, so as long as we stay above, let's say, 38.8 cents, I think we could always start a much bigger C wave, and the target for that's at $3.50, but obviously before we even get to these numbers, we have to get above the bull market support band, and like I said, we have to complete a 5-wave move to the upside. But before we even think about a 5-wave move to the upside, we have to break out of this downtrend, and to break out of the downtrend, we have to break above 47 cents and then above 60 cents. So we'll see if we do this next, but you have to understand, right here on the RSI, on the 4-hour, breaking below the moving average on the RSI would confirm that maybe we're gonna get another low, and maybe we're in the other much bigger 1-2 setup instead of this 1-2 AB structure. So we'll see how this plays out, but for the time being, I am bullish because on the Bitcoin chart, we seem to have a much bigger 1-2 setup, unlike the Cardano chart here. The much bigger 1-2 actually looks like a 1-2, and we could be in the second wave right now. I think as long as we manage to stay above $83,000, this could always start a much bigger third wave and then hopefully break out of the downtrend. But for the time being, I think the charts are looking okay, because here on the daily chart, on the Cardano chart, we closed in the oversold territory. And I also have to say that the RSI has not been this oversold ever since we got the 2023 lows, so I think this is a good sign, and maybe the market has bottomed, because here on the weekly chart we closed the wick exactly at the support zone, meaning that the price could easily get a move to the upside right now. Keep in mind, we also closed a wick at the trend line on the RSI, and I think that's very bullish, because the last time we did that was in this area over here back in 2024, and then after that we got a move to the bull market support band. Now before this time it was in 2023, and we did that 2 times. First we did it when we got the bear market low at about 21 cents, and the second time we did it over here before we had this move to the upside. Obviously there are many other examples right here, but I'm not going to talk about them too much because I want to go back to the daily. So here on the daily RSI we are still in a very big downtrend, and if we want to start turning bullish, what we need to do right now is break above the moving average on the daily RSI and then hopefully get a move to the downside, test the moving average, and this time we should manage to get a bounce, because as you can see we tried doing that a bunch of times in the past, and each time we tried doing it we went lower. So we need to break out of the downtrend, or at least break above this high right here. So we'll see if that plays out, but please remember, everything is oversold right now. And before I talk about Bitcoin, I want to talk about USDT dominance, because this chart closed at the overbought territory on the weekly, and I believe this is a very good sign, because I believe this is gonna tell us that it might go down in the next couple of weeks, because the last time this happened was back in 2022 over here, and after we closed in the overbought territory on the RSI, that's what gave us a 40% move to the downside. And why is this important? Because usually when USDT dominance goes down, that's when people start buying altcoins again, and that's what leads the price to go up. So I think this is good, and as you can see we have many other examples on the chart. Each time we closed at the overbought territory on the weekly, we had a huge move to the downside on this chart, and at minimum it went down about 40%. So right now I'm expecting a 40% move to the downside, and I think there is a chance that it happens this week, because this high got exactly to where we got back here, I believe back in August, and then after that we had a huge move to the downside. And why is this important? Because during this time, this is when Cardano was actually going up last year, so getting a huge move to the downside right now would be the best case scenario. And moving on to the Bitcoin chart, I want to first talk about the daily chart here, because I wanted to remember that we got to the oversold territory for the first time since we were right here at about, let's say, $77,000, and before we got oversold in that area it was back here at about $50,000. So I think right now if we manage to break above the moving average on the daily RSI and then hopefully get above it, we could do exactly what we did back in this area. So as you can see, back in this area, even though we got another low after we got to the oversold territory, after we managed to actually stay above the moving average on the RSI. That's what gave us a move above the bear market support band. So this is what I'm watching right now. I'm expecting the price to get to the bear market support band, and to do that, we have to break above the moving average on the daily RSI first. And again, for those who did not watch yesterday's video, Bitcoin has not been this oversold on the daily ever since we were back here at about, let's say, $25,000 in August of 2023. And then as you can see, after that, we had a pretty significant move to the upside. So this is what I think is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to get above the bear market support band and then hopefully, stay above it. And if we manage to stay above it, this has a chance of turning into a much longer cycle, because here on the weekly RSI, the RSI closed exactly where it closed back in 2020 during the pandemic drop. So here during the pandemic drop, the price went down about 60% in about 3 weeks, and then after that we closed exactly at an RSI of about 33. And as you can see, in the next couple of weeks after that, that's when Bitcoin got a move above the bull market support band, and then after the move above the bull market support band, we still had a huge bull market after that. So this could mean two things. Maybe it's going to mean that we're only going to get the move to the bull market support band and then we're going to get rejected and that's going to be the end of the cycle. Or maybe it could also mean that this was just another low of the cycle, and right now we could go up for 6 months, because each time we found a low in this cycle, the price went up for 6 months. For example, over here, after we went down to $25,000, we got to about, let's say, $70,000, and this move happened in about 182 days. And right here, after we got to $50,000, the price went up again. It went up for about 170 days, and then we got that high at about $110,000. We went down again, and then after that we went up for another 6 months or 182 days, and after that we had this correction. So like I said, getting above the bull market support band and testing it and staying above it could mean that the price might go up for 6 months, at least based on what happened in the cycle so far, and 6 months from now would put us in May. So there is a chance that maybe this cycle is going to overextend until May, but obviously do not take my word for it, because it might not end up happening. But right now everything is pointing out to that fact, because first of all, if you look at rate cuts, they're going to probably continue to happen, and usually when we get rate cuts, that's when Bitcoin goes to new all-time highs. But not only that, I believe QT is going to end in December, and that's also very important, because usually after QT ends, we start QE. Obviously not always, but that's what usually happens. So I think if QT stops right now, that's going to lead to a very big move to the upside on the altcoin charts, but obviously this is only going to happen if Bitcoin dominance starts breaking down. And speaking of Bitcoin dominance, right now on the weekly chart, we are still trying to stay above the moving average on the RSI, which is not great, because if we actually close another wick above the moving average right there, it could be a sign that Bitcoin dominance might get a move to the upside in the next couple of weeks, because we could get a bounce off the moving average, and that could even put us at 66%. But the best case scenario is that we just drop below the moving average there and then hopefully start a much bigger move to the downside. Please understand that in the previous 2 cycles, Bitcoin dominance got to cycle lows in January after the bull market. So right now, if we are repeating exactly what happened right here or right here, Bitcoin dominance should find some kind of low, hopefully by January of 2026, meaning that we should get the altcoin season by then. But obviously, if the cycle overextends, then maybe you could say that Bitcoin dominance has another chance of getting another cycle high and then hopefully starting a much bigger move later in the year, next year. But obviously, I'm not going to count too much on that, because it's a new theory, so it could always go wrong. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to check out our YouTube memberships and our Patreon if you want access to all of our charts, and if you want access to our daily Discord updates. Like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.